We got to thinking about this next story by Jim Kircher because of the PBS documentary series, Women, War, and Peace. It's a topic that in one sense is about faraway places, but also one that hits close to home.
Hi everybody. Thank you for having us out here. We have to tell you that this is our 5th school visit today, so we might be a little tired, all right?
They are journalists who have told human stories of conflict and suffering in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Anna Bodkin in words, and Andre Lambertson with pictures. They came to St. Louis to visit schools and share what they've learned about faraway people and places with children who live in one of the richest and safest countries in the world.
I teach photojournalism, so it's one thing to teach kids hands-on. I went with 2 amazing journalists, but to talk to kids who maybe have no understanding of A, these issues, and B, internationally, sometimes a challenge. This is what we saw.
Lambertson was struck by student reactions to his photos.
There's one, I don't know, it's just a kind of a simple image of a woman. There was a hospital that had collapsed. It was actually just a simple photograph of a mother caressing her daughter. You could see the IV. But it's just like a tender picture in a way. And I'd say some days it's almost finding, kind of strength in places where people might look for brokenness.
Very often we see people who live in conflict zones as these 2-dimensional stick figures. And I want to fill them again with flesh and blood and show that they're human just like us, that they are us. When I go outside, I will wear...
The Pulitzer Center for Crisis Reporting supports journalists like Bodkin and Lambertson in their reporting from distant battlefields so that they will share those experiences in local classrooms.
And people can't tell that I'm not Afghan, which also is helpful. Because I don't...
Looking at the role of women in Afghanistan, obviously there are probably some differences.
That's a very good question. I'm glad that you asked it, because what we see here mostly is an Afghanistan external, where women don't really participate. But women participate a lot in the private life. Ideally, there is a give and take, right? I tell my stories, and they tell me theirs, and that's how we share. But it's absolutely important that young people know what the world is like, because their world doesn't end in St. Louis. It doesn't end with the borders of Missouri. It doesn't end with the borders of the United States.
If you stop seeing people as other, they're black, they're African, they're this, and you start relating to this person as maybe your daughter, or what would your mom do, I think they would get it. So I try to make them look in their own backyard.
And in fact, there are likely to be stories of war, loss, survival, and rebuilt lives just a few miles, or even a few blocks away.
As you can see, they are playing dominoes, and they are very good. All of them came with Bosnian refugees. Every of them have their story. Who didn't go through that can't understand.
Yasminka Gruber does understand. She is also a survivor of the Balkan War, living through the years-long siege of Sarajevo. Like tens of thousands of others, she ended up in St. Louis, home to the largest Bosnian immigrant community in the United States. The Bevo neighborhood on the south side became its center. The stores and restaurants, the preponderance of names ending in IC, all evidence of immigrants starting over and bringing new life to an old city. But immigrant stories are not just about the outward signs. They're also about the inner lives, the inner struggles, and the inner strength.
We can go and see. Our women are very strong, physically and psychologically. So probably because of that environment.
And the history,
and history, and most of duties on women in our country. So they learn to handle.
Like others, Yasminka rebuilt her own family's life in St. Louis.
This is men's group.
And then she took on the job of helping others rebuild theirs. First working with the International Institute, and now with the nonprofit Bilingual In-Home Assistance Services. Every Tuesday you'll find her at the Grand Oak Hill Community Center in South St. Louis.
Here I'm working in social work, what is not my profession, because I'm feeling that I need to help them to stand on their feet. Now it's a serious part. People brought paperwork that we need to do. For food stamps. I thought in my country that we have a lot of paperwork, but when I came here, it's overwhelming. And can you imagine somebody who is not speaking language?
Often our exposure to diverse immigrant communities comes at events like the International Festival. This is the fun and colorful part of an ethnically diverse city. But there is a lot that we cannot see. Many who have come to this country as refugees have survived war and suffered terrible losses, and may live with the unpredictable effects of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, even in a country that has given them safety and stability.
I think that everybody who went through war have a certain amount of PTSD. And sometimes one event is enough to trigger that. They are coming every Tuesday. So that is more social event. I think that that kind of gathering is the best therapy for them. Not talking what was happened, but what is in this moment. So that is the moments when they forget what was happened, some other everything what they lost. So group is pretty big. What they are thinking, what they have now.